Koinonia Christian Church is excited to bring you an experience that is sweeping the nation, transforming lives, and coming soon to a city near you. The experience of hiding behind the lipstick. Hiding Behind the Lipstick was created by Myesha Chaney, author and First Lady of Antioch Church of Long Beach in Long Beach, California. I am truly honored to introduce to you tonight Myesha Chaney. Clap, everyone. Thank you for being here, Myesha. I know it's been a long day, but thank you for extending yourself once again.
No problem.
And just talk to me. We're going to talk briefly about hiding behind the lipstick.
Absolutely.
I promise not to be too intrusive. Okay?
No worries.
Okay, so I read the book and had an opportunity to learn a lot about you. Let's go back to how you first came about hiding behind the lipstick. You had a revelation in your church. How long ago was that, and how did that encounter grow into the tour and the book? And I think there's a DVD or something like that too.
So in 2009, it was my first time doing this message, Hiding Behind the Lipstick, and it was totally an answer to prayer. Me looking around in my sphere of influence and seeing the women in my life were really hiding behind all these things, and I just didn't want to have that kind of existence. So the message was birthed, and at the time I was so insecure about speaking that I didn't even tell the women at my church that I was the women's retreat speaker. I just told them, just show up, it's going to be a surprise. And Hiding Behind the Lipstick was my message that I delivered, and we stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. These women that I have been going to church with for years, I really didn't know them until that night. And that night they shared all their lipstick confessions, and it was so powerful that we were like, we can't just leave this here, let's take it back to the church. And when we took it back to the church and did it maybe 6 months later, there was such an overwhelming response where women were lined up around the block. It was just like everyone wanted what the experience brought. So we just started doing them in local churches, and whoever would call us, we would go. And I figured, I want to make this into a book. Let's reach more people so they don't have to necessarily come to an experience. They can read it in their own time, and that's how it was birthed.
Was the confessionals that we saw here tonight, everybody, well, just, they had like placards of what they were hiding behind. Was that always a part of it?
No, it actually evolved. So we started off with just me. And then when we did it again, I was like, let's use the arts. Let's use media and arts and skits and poetry and all kinds of things to help drive home the message. So we added different components, and over the years we've been able to adjust them. We see what works well, we see what maybe we can enhance, and so it's kind of evolved into what you see now and today.
So Hiding Behind the Lipstick. Throughout the book you use, and even when you're speaking tonight, you use makeup as a metaphor. Why not use shoes or clothes? Wouldn't that be, you know, equally
Yes, actually, and I think about part 2 of the message where I talk about idols. There's all these metaphors, but it just so happens at the time that God spoke to me, he used makeup. And it was universal. It was a language that we all understood. We knew what concealer was for. And it just made sense at the time. Yeah, so it's just the way it was downloaded to me.
So, I like that, downloaded. So I was researching questions and stuff that I wanted to ask, and so usually when I don't know what I want to do or what I want to talk about, I go to the Bible for research. So I said, okay, I'm going to look for women in the Bible who had masks. And the 2 that stood out to me were Esther and Rahab. But they didn't wear masks like the unveiling that we saw here today. Their mask was more like a strategic kind of mask. Do you think that it's sometimes necessary from a strategic point of view to wear a mask? And if so, at what point does it become dangerous?
Well, we call it, in our ministry, we call it change clothes. And it was based on the fact that that the Zadoks were this group of people that God used to hear from him and speak to the people. And it involved a process of pretty much changing out of the priestly garments and going into speak to the people. And so I think definitely there are times where we're strategic about what we present for the sake of Christ and how we do it. For example, I wouldn't always, on Preachers of LA or any television show that I'm on, I wouldn't always use terminology that is comfortable for Christians, because I'm trying to speak in a way that's relatable to everybody. So that meant I have to mask the fullness of God and my understanding of Him in order to be relatable to the group of people I'm speaking to. So in that case, it's fine. I think it becomes dangerous when you lose who you are. That's where you go into error, when now you're not in touch with the person behind that now you use. It's like roles. I even use actress, you know, you're playing a role. And you're reading your script. So all these different metaphors, they still communicate the same truth.
I like communicating the truth. Speaking of keeping it real, I like how you describe keeping it real in the book, and I highlighted it. I highlighted a bunch of stuff in here, but I think that was probably like the first passage that I highlighted. Would you mind just reading the passage that I highlighted?
You do not have to tell all your personal business in order to be real. I'm not saying to go up to a random person and tell them your house is in foreclosure and you're losing everything you have. You don't have to share all of your insecurities or regrets. This is not some super religious confessional that requires you to divulge your life story. You simply need to get to a place where you can admit you're having a bad day or feel scared or can't afford something. When we project something other than our personal truth, we run the risk of losing an opportunity to uplift or encourage a person who needs the comfort, or who needed the comfort of a common experience. God needs some authentic people who are willing to boldly yield themselves for a greater good.
Thank you. What is the greater good?
His kingdom and His purpose, that we all are a part of a greater plan, and the sooner we find out what our roles are in playing in this greater plan, the better off we are. We live a whole full life giving and being in service to what He wants to accomplish.
Do you think that Christians sometimes do ourselves and others around us a disservice by pretending that life just doesn't beat us up sometimes? Because it does.
I absolutely do. I do. And the reason why is there's always collateral damage to our choices. And sometimes we don't see how what we're doing affects us. And we definitely don't see what it's doing to affect the people around us. We tend to see ourselves and our problems as woe is me and this is my situation, and it's so inward. But when we get outside of ourselves, we realize, wow, that daughter was watching her mom being abused. Now she grows up with a perspective. You see, it already affects her. And then she'll go to school and maybe bully other kids. Now it affects those other kids. So there's always this kind of, it's happening all around you, and the choices you make, whether to yield to God or not, it affects the people in your life.
By nature, women are nurturers. And because of that, we tend to wear many hats, you know, mother, wife, sister, daughter, or whatever. And that could have us, you know, in some cases putting on lipstick. Do you think men have the same issue?
I do. I think men definitely hide behind a lot of stuff. They process information differently than we do. And so how they get through their healing process may be a little bit different, but I do think that there are a lot of men still hiding behind the necktie. I mean,
yeah, that's what I thought.
You know,
and the
something.
Necktie,
they got the same
tie.
issues, but just a different expression.
Do you think that social media and all the information that is available to us, that is available to us on any given moment, is related to the mask that people put on?
Social media and the internet and society definitely shapes the way we view ourselves. When we watch television, it's like a mirror, and it's easy for us to look at our favorite actress and decide what we are not, comparing ourselves to her. For example, big butts are in. Whereas 10, 15 years ago,
there was always big butts.
People didn't, but they didn't enjoy it, right? It wasn't a part of culture.
Depends on what culture, because in the black community,
we had them, but we may have felt bad about having them. Whereas now, it's very celebrated, it's welcomed, it's just different. So the same girl who looked in the mirror and thought, gosh, I'm too curvy, I want to be thinner, can now look in the mirror and say, I look good. And the only thing that changes is what society puts before you and says, this is good. and you watch it. So of course it influences us because we see certain things and we want to emulate it, and that causes us to put on these personas.
And I think I saw somewhere on the news or something how that, as far as plastic surgery is concerned, that is like the #1 plastic surgery now. People are getting
Botox and lip injections and butt implants.
Right, exactly.
You see, these things are made available because they feed an appetite in us, and we get fed from the media. It's the catch-22. At some point, you got to decide, this is who I am. I like my flaws. I'm okay with them. That my life, my body is not going to be perfect, and I'm okay with it not being perfect.
And it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, I would fix a lot of things about me, but I've come to a place where it's like, me fixing everything is not going to gain a cubit to my stature. It's not going to make me any more loved by God. My family's not going to treat me any differently. I might as well just get accustomed to things just being the way they are.
But how do you get to that point? I mean, how do you get to the point where, #1, you recognize there's a problem? Let's say you come to something like this, in corporate worship or whatever, you decide, I'm not going to deal with this lipstick. But then when you go home, you know, it's a little different. Maybe you may not put that lipstick on, but maybe you choose a different kind of lipstick. What words do you have to tell that person, no, you don't put that lipstick on, and don't pick that one up? That's not the right color for you.
Right. I think that as we live life, we're going to be exposed to other scenarios and circumstances that we don't know we'll deal with, right? Because we're evolving as people. There's certain things I don't know I'll deal with until I get there. One thing I do like is creating systems in your life that prevent those kinds of unhealthy behaviors. Create ways where you're staying connected to God, that your friends know your process and they can hold you accountable. They can discern your countenance, that something's different about you, and that'll help trigger you to get back on course versus doing the same things that you've always done. Get the same guy, isolate yourself from all of your family, no one knows what's going on, you're doing you, staying away from church. All those things create this appetite towards what is unhealthy. So I would say how you get free and what I call stay free is by creating systems in your life that feed your authenticity. That at any moment when you stray, there's a system that kicks in that says, hey, you know, your friends know, your mom know, you know, your husband, your kids, they can pick up on it. Like, this is the new me and this is how I want to live my life. If you can help me, if you see me not being honest, or you see me quiet or shying away, bring me out of that, because I don't want to be there.
That requires an honesty.
Yes.
I guess that's if you really want to get rid of it.
If you really want it. If you really want it.
Yeah. I think Dr. Goins always says, you're not ready to get of anything that you're still trying to conceal.
Right.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap everything up. Is there anything that you want to add?
I'd just like to say that God is really, really desiring to use us in a way that's fresh and unique, and that we really have to be consistent with what He created. It's really important. It's bigger than just, I have sins and I'm struggling and woe is me. It's really like, so you can have the most optimal life, deal with all your stuff. Get yourself in position and alignment so that you can be satisfied in the deepest, most meaningful way, accomplishing His purpose.
That's great. Thank you
Thank
again
you. Thank you for having me.
I just want to go over some of your events. Tomorrow you're back in LA.
Yes.
You have an event at One Church International.
Yes.
And then next Friday you're on live broadcast at the Word Network.
Absolutely.
7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time?
Yes.
So check your local listings. Eastern Standard Time, 7:00 p.m. I think the next day, November 15th, you're still in Detroit?
Yes.
And on November 22nd, which is a Saturday, you're back in LA at Bible Fellowship.
Yes, in Oakland.
And I think you saw, like, have a Florida date coming up or something.
Yes, in December, and DC and Atlanta. And we'll probably break for Christmas, and then we'll be back at it next year.
Stay tuned to official HBTL for more dates. Or MyeshaChaney.com. She's on Facebook. And don't forget, hiding behind the lipstick.
Yes,
at a store near you. At a
Yes.
store near you. I got it. I pre-ordered it.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So thank you once again for being here. I wish you much success. I pray that lives are transformed and that you continue to use you in your purpose as God has you to. You're a real inspiration. Thank you. Thank you for being here. That's everybody. That's it, everybody. Have a great day and a blessed week.
Trust in God, see if God changed me, He can surely change you. Singing.